Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another hackajob webinar. For those of you who are part of the community, it's great to have you back again. For those of you who are new to hackajob is a tech community filled with events on a constant basis with heaps of different content, and it's all around putting you in control of your own destiny. Companies apply to you on hackajob rather than the other way around. Today, we're joined by the team at Sainsbury's. Bleddyn will be joining us from a previously recorded presentation because he's cycled 250 miles down to the corner of Cornwall in Bude, and he's probably on a surfboard as we speak. But he will be able to fire any questions afterwards. You can also see that I'm joined by the team from Sainsbury's, 4 different kind of departments, 4 areas of the business, who'll be giving lightning talks on what it's like to work at Sainsbury's and also the stuff that they work on. Lest we forget, Sainsbury's has 27 million customers every single week. It is synonymous with the British High Street, but little is known around kind of the tech that is at play behind, and they work with some really cool programming languages and cover a whole host of different areas, and we'll be touching on a range of those today. So Steve, Pooja, Nidhi, and Elena will be giving their presentation shortly. But before we do that, just a couple of bits of housekeeping. So along the bottom of your console there, you can see a chat. And it wouldn't be 2020 or 2021 if I didn't ask if everybody can just, any audio issues, if you can't hear or see anything, please do raise it in the chat at the bottom of the console. And in that far right-hand corner, you can see the Q&A box. Please do feel free to ask as many questions as you like. We'll try and cover as many of them in the Q&A section at the end of the event. And then post-event, any of those which remain unanswered, we will return to and endeavour to come back to each and every one of you. I can see the first questions already coming through, and it's one which I feel confident in answering, and I can confirm that it is coming home. So in the next moment, we'll be moving on to Bleddyn's presentation. So Bleddyn, over to you.
Hello everyone. Unfortunately, I can't be with you today as I'm actually away on holiday in Bude at the moment. As you can see, I'll be practicing my falling from a surfboard technique, although I think when you look at the photo, I've probably already got it mastered. I'm Bleddyn Williams. I'm the head of engineering, covering the buy, fulfill and in-store areas. So a lot of places that we interact with a customer. Over the next hour, you're going to meet some really fantastic people, but I'm just going to do a bit of scene setting first of all. Firstly, I want to dispel perhaps some thinking that you might have about Sainsbury's and technology. You might be thinking we're old-fashioned, that we don't do anything cutting edge, but you can in fact see that back in 1998 we had our first order online, telephone, internet and fax home delivery service. We might have been a business that's been going since 1869, but we've come an awful long way. Instead of thinking that we're old and stayed inside Sainsbury's tech, you should be thinking about all the brands that we've got. You can see some images here from the Habitat, Two Clothing, Sainsbury's and Argos websites, and all the technology that sits behind those, whether it's looking for availability, whether it's Smartshop, whether it's looking at everything that goes on within supply chain and all the different pieces, the world of big data, or the fact that we also own Nectar. There is a huge amount of technology that's driving all of this that the team are going to be talking about. Across all those brands I just mentioned, purpose is key to them. You may have seen the recent advertising for Sainsbury's and heard Stephen Fry talking about one plate at a time. Our brand purpose is our internal North Star. It helps guide and prioritise what we do as a business and then within technology, what we do for our customers, what we do for our shareholders. Alongside the purpose, we've got the business strategy. You can see that split into 5 different areas. Win at Food is really important for us. It's refocusing the business, looking at launching new products and letting customers shop in the way that suits them. For us in technology, for example, that means growing online. We want our brands to be able to stand on their own, and we also want to be able to save. So looking at retiring old systems from a technology point of view, removing tech debt, looking towards the future, and then investing those savings in other places. Connected customers is really looking towards Nectar, while planning for better is all about the environment and the impact that we have as a business looking towards the future. We take that business strategy into Sainsbury's Tech. We've now split ourselves into 3 domains. We've got customer and data, which is the area that I work in. This looks at aspects such as the digital experience, the touch points with the customer, big data, Nectar. We've got colleague and operations. Here you might find the systems that are running supply chain, or the finance and HR systems that are used within the business, and providing tools that the colleagues would be using in store. And finally, we've got the platform engineering and services domain. Here, for example, we'd be creating the shared services and infrastructure that are used across teams within the other 2 domains. One of the best things about working here is the scale and size that we do things at. For example, I wanted to pull some numbers here from Black Friday last year. You can see that we impacted almost 12 million customers who visited the website. We were doing a huge amount of orders, just in terms of deliveries going 1.5 times around the world, and that was only before 1 p.m. From a Smartshop point of view, on our busiest day in the run-up to Christmas, we did 235,000 transactions in one day. And finally, before I hand back to Sam and we get on to the piece that I'm sure you're all interested in, I just wanted to call out our support networks within the business. We really do believe we should celebrate our differences and help everyone feel able to be themselves at work. So, back to you, Sam.
Thank you, Bleddyn, and we'll guess amongst us what he's doing at the moment, but glorious sunshine. I imagine he is on that surfboard. I'll try and keep my bits in between short, because as Bleddyn mentioned, we're really into the kind of stars of the show and what we were here to listen to and understand from. So without much further ado, Steve, I'll pass over to you.
Perfect. Let me just share my screen. So, hello everyone. It's really exciting to be here, to be honest, and talk to you, because from doing the preparations for all of this, it was really interesting watching the other engineering managers do their presentation, and then it kind of hit home that actually, yeah, Sainsbury's does do a hell of a lot, and we forget that sometimes. But my name's Steve Stotter. I'm an engineering manager for Smartshop, and I'm going to talk about the tech, the team, and COVID-19. Nice rhyming in the title there. And kind of, I just wanted to talk to you about one of our kind of big consumer propositions. So for those that don't know what Smartshop does, we are a self-scan proposition. So you might have seen handsets in store. You can use your mobile in store, and you scan your items as you go. You put them in your bag as you go, and then you kind of go to a checkout and you just transfer it to a checkout and pay. Or on our mobile phones in our convenience stores, you can literally just pay on your mobile with Apple Pay or Google Pay. So it does feel a little bit like you're shoplifting. But it's super, cutting edge. It's great, and the project has gone from strength to strength. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the tech, the team, and how we've coped in COVID as well. So who are we as a team? So I've talked about the apps that we look after, the mobile apps and the in-store handsets and how we develop them. But we're way more than that. It's a program of work. So all the microservices that power Smartshop behind the scenes. We've got about 30 odd microservices. Might be more nowadays. It's about 30 odd. Written in a variety of languages. We have the colleague tools to support Smartshop. So if you're unlucky enough to get a rescan where we check your shopping, we have a colleague app that deals with all of that. Age restrictions in stores as well, so that when you're paying on your mobile phone directly with Google Pay or Apple Pay, we do some age verification checks and stuff like that as well. And we have some colleague tools as well. How are we structured as a team? So we're structured as feature teams. So we've got 2 feature teams at the moment. We're looking to set up a third. And that's made of developers, designer, engineering manager. So myself, I'm in team 1, and a PM per team as well. And then we have a platform team as well, made of cloud engineers. And some exciting things, just to give you set the scene a little bit. Smartshop, you might think, oh, it's a done deal. What more can you do with it? We're doing a hell of a lot with it at the moment. It's very, very busy. So we're looking at integrating with the single identity for Sainsbury's. So being able to use your Sainsbury's Grocers account or Nectar account to log in and use Smartshop. As we know, that's a big barrier to entry. So we're in the middle of that. That's going live very, very soon. We're looking at doing some Nectar personalized pricing. So if you've got a Nectar card and you often buy, I don't know, Cathedral cheddar cheese is on there in the diagram, you might get a special price on an item that matters for you, which is really cutting edge as well. I don't think any of the other supermarkets are doing personalized pricing. We've got some shopping list innovations. People love a shopping list. So we're looking at doing some really interesting innovations in that space. And also we've got some NDA stuff going on. So non-disclosure agreement, I can't talk too much about that, but it's super, super exciting. What tech do we use in our team then? Because that's important, because we're talking to techies mostly here. So mostly in our team, we work on these kind of foundational languages. So Go powers most of our microservices. We've got Kotlin for our Android app, Swift for our iOS app. We use React for our colleague tools and our kind of very, very basic customer website. And Python does a lot of our infrastructure, but they're just the main languages. Obviously, we have a hell of a lot more going on. And this is like buzzword bingo, but we have a lot of this kind of stuff. This is the stuff that came to my mind as what's important in our world. So microservices, REST, we use Elasticsearch for bits and pieces, CloudFormation, we use GitHub Actions, New Relic, Firebase, and we have a mixture of MVP, MVVM. And we use MQTT as a messaging protocol as well. And we have some legacy PHP, but let's forget about that. So how do we work in Smartshop? So every team in Sainsbury's defines their own ways of working. And for Smartshop, we have, I wouldn't say unique, because there's definitely other teams that do this, but we operate in a particular way. So we work in a cross-functional mindset. So that encourages engineers to work on features end to end. And what we do with this is we recruit in specialists. So we're not looking full stack. We recruit in, Go engineers, Kotlin engineers, iOS engineers, React engineers, etc. And with the mindset that we expect, it'll probably be about 75% your specialism. There's loads of work to do in your specialism. But, if you're interested as an Android engineer to do some iOS, we're going to help you learn that, because there's loads of stuff in our stack where you can learn it. You might also be interested in backend, and we can help you as a Go developer learn some Go. In fact, a lot of the team have actually learned Go in our team, which has been fantastic. So you might think, well, how do we do this? Well, one of the key mechanisms that we use is we do pair programming by default. So the concept of this, for those that don't know, is one computer and two people. So actually in the picture that you can see there, it's slightly different, because there's actually two screens, two keyboards, two mice, one machine that's powered up by. Now, obviously remotely, it's slightly different. We use screen sharing technology, but it's essentially you share the same code, you're looking at the same code, contributing to the same code together. It's just collaboration all day. And then with breaks, obviously, we make sure that there's no burnout. And then we rotate pairs as well in the morning, occasionally as well, so that you're not always with the same person. So you can pick up a different technology, etc. And that's how we really encourage this cross-functional mindset, because you might be a kind of a senior Android engineer, but you're interested in doing a bit of iOS, so you might be paired with a senior iOS developer that day and doing an iOS ticket. And that's how we encourage that learning and exposure to the other bits of our tech stack. And then we also do test-driven development by default as well. So this, for most of you, you already know this, but writing a test first before implementing the functionality, and basically describing what you want to achieve first, getting it to pass, and then refactoring it. And that's really key to what we do. We've got a very high test coverage, and it also helps you think about design and architecture of a system, which is very, very important. But I wanted to touch a little bit on a case study. So that's all of kind of what Smartshop is, very, very briefly. But I thought I'd kind of give you a bit of a case study, bring it a bit to life about what we do and how it impacts customers, etc. So COVID, I mean, you can get nothing more topical than COVID. So I wanted to show you some stats that was quite interesting. So we have our handset proposition, which is the handsets that you can pick up in stores, scan your shopping, etc. People love them. You can see that light blue line there is the handset usage in 2020. Which was huge. People love those handsets. But what was really interesting is as soon as lockdown hit, so late or mid-March, people started to reject the handsets. They were like, I don't want to touch them. Are they safe to use, etc. And we saw the start of exponential growth on our mobile app. But then actually what happened is people got over it with the handsets. We kind of introduced a lot of cleaning mechanisms and whatever else, and people went back to it. And actually, since January 2020, they're up 70% usage-wise, handsets in store. And mobile has been the absolute star of the show, and it's up 320% since last year. So it's huge growth for Smartshop. People love it. People got used to it in COVID times, and they just really wanted to use it, and it's been sticky, and that's really encouraging. And now, what's an exciting figure? I was really excited when I learned this. Smartshop's now a £3 billion business in itself. We make over £3 billion of revenue a year, and that's more than doubled since the start of COVID. So it's an insane proposition. There's a lot of people using it and loving it. And just to bring that a bit more to life with more stats, you can see here, like with handset registrations, we did actually improve handset registrations, but it's nothing like our mobile registrations. You can see on that second graph there, they were kind of trailing, less than 1,000 a day, and now we're getting, 15,000 a day. It started as when we went to when COVID kind of struck first, and we're still maintaining a lot of signups. And it's the same for conversions. So people moving from being a guest handset customer to being a mobile customer. Huge amounts of people moved from handsets to mobile, and we have all of this data in our stack. We can see all of these insights. It's super interesting. How do we adapt as a team? Because I think that's quite interesting just to touch on quickly as the last thing. So obviously, whole new territory, everyone working from home. We had days working from home beforehand, but this was everyone working from home. How do we adapt? Obviously, we do pair programming. Well, we went through a few tools, but actually we've settled on Tuple. It's a great tool for using it for pair programming, and the team love it. And you know what? It works extremely well. And actually, it's been a very good morale booster and keeping everyone happy and sociable, etc. It's been really good having people talking to another person and it rotating, so you're not talking to the same person every day. It's been really good. We had to pivot on our priorities a little bit. So we had an in-office Jenkins machine, as I'm sure some people did for their mobile apps. We had to obviously move off of that, and we adopted GitHub Actions, probably the best move we made, and that was absolutely fine. And what's been really interesting as well is we've never delivered faster. We were quite a high-performing team beforehand, but we've actually never delivered faster. So you can tell that people are really liking this change, and we're gonna adopt this much more going forwards. Even when things return back to normal, it's going to be fairly remote first. So that's it from me. Please do use the Q&A function, and we'll answer your questions later on. I'll pick up a few questions, specific to Smartshop if you have any. But been great talking to you, and yeah, I can't wait for your questions.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Steve. And yeah, just a reminder, lots of people raising their hands throughout that presentation. Just due to the sheer volume of attendees that we do have, please do use the text-only Q&A, and we will come to them at the end. I think one comment on that part is, different to lots of other parts of tech, there's something really tangible that people can literally put their hands on an everyday basis with what you work on. So really interesting on that point. Again, without much further ado, we'll kind of move through these lightning talks. And Elena, it'll be over to yourself.
Well, give me a second to share my screen. And off we go. So my name is Elena. I'm an engineering manager in the Sainsbury's marketing and media agency space, and I'm looking after a few very exciting products. All of them are around data and how we use data, what kind of insights we get from data. And choosing which one to showcase for you today, I chose the Insight platform. This is something which we have built for ourselves as internal customers, for the businesses who basically are our suppliers. It's any kind of big brands like Unilever to very small suppliers which we have. So they can have a tool to answer the questions they have, because what do business people want? They want a button. I press a button and I find the answer to all of my questions. And questions can be, how do I stock? How do I stock which, for example, would I put to a big supermarket? Which ones to a convenience store? How often do I need to restock each of the products? How do we organize on the shelf? So basically, what do people actually buy together? How do they look at the products? How do they form their basket? How do we actually propose a better value to our customers? How we can put personalized offers. So instead of putting everyone minus 10p on cucumbers, we see what are you actually buying, which frequency you're buying. And we want to know these answers. Our suppliers want to know answers to their questions. How do they manage promotions? How do people buy their goods? Do they buy same during the year? Or for example, do they buy more in different seasonalities? What happens if they discontinue something? What happens if they roll out a new product? how people prefer to buy it in quantities and qualities, etc. And all of these answers we can give when we look deep into the data. And we have lots of data because we have lots of users, which was mentioned. We have lots of different apps, lots of different activities. And all this data we utilize in order to give sense and give an understanding what exactly our customers are, how they behave, and what they're looking to. So what do we do? Very easy, we do reports. All kind of reports. We do simple graphs, we do cluster analysis, we do trees, we do everything you can think about, driving different methodologies depending on what you want to analyze. And you can analyze customers, you can analyze their behaviors, you can analyze their baskets, you can analyze how do actually they start buying or stop buying different products, etc., etc. And for us, the core values as a tech team, we're trying to make it fast because all of our reports are real time. We're trying to make it simple. So these huge dimensions of the data can be very sexily displayed into one graph, which you understand and you can see what's going on. And we're trying to be restrictive. So just make sure that your data is precious and your data doesn't go to your competitors in the way you might not want for it to go. Just to give you a couple of screenshots of the reports we use, and I will give you a little bit of a flavor of how it actually runs real time in a minute. So one of the reports is the Kpi Tree. So this Kpi Tree is people drinking alcohol and spending more alcohol in 2020 than 2019, which you can say like COVID, yes, probably we all didn't go to the pubs, but we went to the stores, but a little bit more layers to this inside. So apparently, if you go drill down, you can see that you had less people buying alcohol, but in the bigger quantities. And then you go a step down and you can see that, and actually they were buying bigger quantities, but having less trips to the store. And this kind of representation of the data is very intuitive, very nice to understand why, and what actually happens. Another one, so this is a range optimization, which drives the score of the risk score and sales score of the product. So basically, is your product a niche, which have very few users buy in a few quantities, or is it a mass market that a lot of people buy in bigger quantities? And what happens, for example, if you are in that mass factor and you take this product off? Will people start to buy substitute from you, or they will go to your competitors? So basically, what are your risks and what are people buying? And how can you substitute the products if, for example, some products are not there in the stock or not there in the production? So that's very, very insightful. To take you a little bit through our stack, so we are microservices. We extensively use Snowflake, as you can imagine. We use AWS. We are massive on the SQL. So all of our methodologies are basically SQL templates from 900 to 1600 rows of one query. We are very much React on the front end. We use this3. We use lots of different tools for testing. We're testing our performance. We're testing our user journeys. We're testing any kind of the validation which can be. And that's basically who we are. You can see all of the nice icons. Our team is very simple. We work very close with our product. So we have a product engineer and manager, principal engineer. We have developers on the back end, front end. And the data, we work with QA analysts. We do have some designers who help us time to time, but our amazing front-end team do prefer to get very close to the design as they can and take part in making our front-end looking very, very nice. Our goals is basically scaling to more data sources, using even more data, looking at not only transactional, but also behavioral data and constant optimization of what we already have, adding more and more. Our values are being very close to the business and our customers. We are constantly improving our user experience. We put quality as absolutely first, and that's what Steve mentioned before, is our test-driven development, our pair programming, and sessions to share the knowledge. We do have a lot of front-end developers who occasionally want to see how the backend works and get their hands on simple tasks. our data developers trying to understand what actually front end does with the fantastic data they provide to them. And we organize this cross skills knowledge so our team works better together. A little bit of stats here. So we have run almost 300,000 reports since we went live about 10 months ago. Our reports are real time, they're really fast. And in order to construct reports, we look 3 years back into over 30 billion transactions. I think that I already mentioned that. So we roll on lots of data, cutting edge technology, passion about what we do, great people, great technical collaboration, and also very great social collaboration and team building, because we do believe that great people make great teams and then they build great products. So that's our passion around. I will stop sharing this and we'll just share another screen with you to give you 1 minute of look into how the reports are actually run. So welcome, Elena. This is my personal space. I have my reports, create reports. So let's see if we create any report, and we'll go for something like really, really simple. And this simple means that we can go and actually choose what do we want to analyze today. And why don't we look at the desserts? So we, for example, select a few different types of the desserts, separate them into different groups. Then we go time. As I said, that we can go back up to 3 years back. I think what we'll do now is let's look how we are doing in pre-Christmas time and get some 4 weeks in December. And why don't we analyze last December versus previous December? Location can be different, so we can look at the convenience stores, superstores, we can look at different regions or at separate stores if there are. Let's choose a couple. And just not to take all of the Sainsbury's, but we'll take only the Nectar audience. So we kind of like a little bit blur the real numbers, so you don't know really our secrets about our selling cheesecakes. In a single group, and we run the report. Submit and go. So this is real-time execution. What really happens? I can give you a little bit insight. So let's say we take our job ID and we see how it's running. And you can see that it's running. So it's debugging, it's creating some tables. It inner joins, it's dropping some tables. So we have something like really, really actively running around. We can I lost one of my tables, but the one thing I can show you is the actual query running behind. So this is a real query. You can see it's 963 lines. So this query is currently running this report, which we can see already finished. So opening the report, what we see is we see different cheesecakes, which are still much better than the Christmas cakes, even during the Christmas, how they're doing. And we have very many multi-dimensional. So we can compare it to product, we can compare it by location, we can look at the transactions. We also can play with different units and see what kind of products were on discounts, how did they really go units per transactions, how many people bought at once, what about sales per transactions, and you can slice and dice all this information basically created for you in real time during less than 30 seconds. So I hope you enjoyed this one. I will stop sharing it and we'll pass it back to Sam.
Fantastic, thank you. And loads of questions came in during that part, and we'll try and get to as many of them as we can. But Yeah, really, really interesting again. For people raising their hands, again, just as a reminder, please do use the Q&A box on the far right-hand side. And also in the chat box, please just select panelists and all attendees if it's comments about the presentation, comments which aren't questions, so you can all kind of collaborate together, because there's loads coming through, but you're currently sending them just to us as the panelists. So it's just another tab just underneath the comments there. Without further ado, though, again, straight into the next lightning talk. Nidhi, over to you.
Thank you, Sam. Hope you can see my screen.
Yep.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Nidhi Sharma. I'm the engineering manager for inventory management team within Sainsbury's. And we look after multiple brands, which you can see on the screen right now. Today, I will talk about, or I'll share some background around the inventory management for Argos, specifically for Argos, and touching upon some other brands as well. Okay. So yeah, I have around 13 years of experience in retail and e-commerce. I've joined Sainsbury during pandemic, and I'm really enjoying my time since then because of the culture and the support from my colleague and my team. It's been really a nice journey so far. I'm really passionate about my role here, and I really enjoy supporting my team to achieve their goals and working with them. Steve and Elena has already covered a lot around the culture and the team structure, so we are pretty much same. But when it comes to specific to inventory management and what we do, so we are like a team of passionate and energetic people. We look after inventory and the stock availability of multiple products within Sainsbury's, like Argos, Habitat, and TU Clothing. Our main focus or our aim is to provide a centralized view of real-time stock availability and delivery proposition to all our customers. We have built a lot of microservices, around 20 microservices on top of our order management system, which is IBM Sterling. Our services are channel agnostic and support multiple brands. So an omni-channel experience with customer experience with the quickest delivery and realistic promise is the key to our product, and that is the main focus right now. As we know that, you know, when we touch upon the culture of our team, we are quite diverse. The team members belongs to different countries and right now working from their distributed geographically locations. And I feel like this D&I is the strength, and it allows us to share our opinions, share our learnings and experiences. We are currently working on one of the program called Argos Transformation, and I'll talk about it later to give you some brief, but it is going really well. Phase 1 is already live. It's a 3-year program. So some of the tech insight I'll share in the later slides. Before we go any further, the tech stack we have already seen. Our tech stack is pretty much same, other than the order management system, which is, again, I've just talked about it. It is IBM Sterling. We have built a couple of microservices which are in Spring Boot and the latest version of Java. For the integration layer, we use Kafka. We also use WMB. We have containerized our services, which you can see the container orchestration is there. For monitoring, alerting, and logging, we use Datadog and Kibana. We are also doing TDD, and we have Cucumber. Again, to support the stock availability as quickest as possible. We do cache a lot of data, and we are using Redis for that. Same like other teams, we are also using Agile, and our ways of working, team norms are pretty much same. So yeah, I'll go to the next slide, and here I will give you an insight what happens from the customer point of view and what happens in the background. So as a customer, when you are on product detail page, looking for any product, and you see the prepositions like click and collect and delivery, what happens in background is like we do calculate based on the stock availability and provide an appropriate view on this page. And in this, you can see in green, most of the customers, and I would say 98% of our customer do see order now, collect right away from their nearby store. And that happens because the stock is available in your nearby store or the collection location. 92% of our customer do see the next day, or here you can see order now, collect first thing tomorrow, which means that your stock is coming from another hub or the regional fulfillment center. So while checking this preposition, we do calculate the sourcing, and we do calculate from where we can procure and fulfill the item and show the appropriate message. Rest of the customer do see order in, I mean, if the stock is not available in our hub, RFC, or your nearby store, so it is coming from DC, and it do take 1 to 5, whereas we say that most of the time it is 3 days lead time. Only possibility to see out of stock is when the item is not available in the whole estate. So this is the view of collection, whereas if you look at the delivery, based on the postcode, we do show same day delivery, and 92% of customer do get fast track delivery same day from Argos. Now, behind the scene, what happens based on the screenshot which I have, this slide, basically what happens is there are around 300 collection points, 160 hub, 800 spokes, 4 RFCs, and 7 DCs. So we have a full network of things. And when we say 7 DCs, so basically most of our stock is always at your nearby store. And to make that possible, we do keep track of replenishing these stores. And we also raise purchase order, and a lot of background supply chain works goes into this. But where here you can see that DC do replenish these stores via different medium. We have Blue Fleet, we have Argos Fleet, and we have some of our third parties. Once these stores got replenished, we have collection locations at stockless and with stock. So the stockless location will always rely on some of the nearby store, whereas the location which has possibility to have stock and is a collection location will be showing the right away. You can order now and collect right away. You must have seen many of our Sainsbury stores now do have store in store of Argos within the Sainsbury store, which is again a new kind of operations we have started. And the aim is to open more nearby store collection location for the customer so that they can collect easily same day or same time. Now, this was just a view from the collection point of view. This is not covering delivery. This is not covering rest of the things, and the network is actually huge. I'm now taking one more part. I'll not go into detail of this diagram, but the lines like purple line, orange line, green line, they show us the whole delivery network and how fast we move it. It's like, when we say next day delivery or same day delivery, this network has to deliver stock on different stores and different to deliver to different customers. It's actually quite fast. And here you can see the purple network described the TU, whereas spoke and collection point and hub do have different type of lines and routing. So we do have a lot of microservices and structure to plan this routing and mapping deliveries, and then making sure it is available to customer. Again, to surface the first slide where customer is seeing collect now or collect tomorrow, this is the architecture, or this is the component view. We have so many components which may not be very visible on this slide deck, but just to highlight or make a pointer here, this is our warehouse management system. On top of that, we have order management system. Then we have a couple of microservices, and then channels. So you can have web, mobile, stores. Customer can shop from different mediums, different ways, and we make sure that we do show the central view of inventory, and it's always up to date, and do not make false promises to customer. Here are some interesting fact about one of our product, PlayStation 5. So usually what happens is, like, whenever, as you can see in this screenshot, on 2nd of December, this is 3rd December. So on 2nd of December from 6 to 9, which is kind of our peak hour. So we do see around 100 RPS to 250 RPS load on our services. Whereas on 3rd of December, we launch at 6 o'clock, we launch PlayStation 5, and in 15 minutes, whole stock is gone. And we could see spike of 1050 RPS on the service. This is a comparison of our normal day peak time versus Black Friday. So this graph is actually representing the 7 days peak time, and our services do get like 330 to 500 RPS in the normal time. Whereas on Black Friday, as soon as we launch the deals at 9 p.m., the spike just goes up, and as it's like in fraction of seconds, it reaches to around 900 and sometime even 1000 plus. So you can see PS5 is as popular as a Black Friday deal. Yeah, that is it about inventory management. I hope I have given you some insight. If you have any question, or if you want to ask, if you want to share any feedback, please drop it in the Q&A, and I'll try to answer a couple of questions. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nidhi. And we are getting tons of questions coming through, both in the chat, but also in the Q&A console. That number just keeps going up, and our panelists are actually answering them live as much as they can with text answers, and we will get to the Q&A at the end. And in the theme of the day, I'm going to keep this bit even shorter than before, and just saying I didn't get a PS5 either. I saw quite a few of those comments come through directly. We're all missing out, but Pooja, over to you for the final segment.
Well, hope you all see my screen. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Pooja Agicha. I'm the engineering manager within product space in Sainsbury's Tech. A bit about me. I started my career back in 2004, and in past 17 years, I've always worked with data, helping organizations harness the power of data and analytics to make strategic business decisions. I started as ETL developer and have worked my way up the leadership ladder and have played roles of data analyst, ETL developer, data architect, and I joined Sainsbury's last year as a data engineering manager. Today, I'm very proud to be part of Sainsbury's, as people genuinely care about colleagues here and support and trust one another. So that was me and what I do now. So I work closely with the product owner of my team to set goals and explain the importance of each goal and gain team's support. And I'm very happy to say today that my team is self-enabled. It generates tremendous business value through our innovations and collaborations within our squads, within our and across every of the squads in the data tech. Well, that was me. And so if I talk about what do we do at Sainsbury's Tech overall, well, the main aim of the engineering family here is to employ quality-led best engineering practices that result in the delivery of highly robust applications and products that our customers can enjoy. And as Steve mentioned in the beginning, our ways of working are pretty much same. Here at Sainsbury's, the squads within data tech are named after fruits, and I'm part of the strawberry squad. And my team is data custodian for 4 important areas. And as you can see on the screen, first on the left-hand side at the top, property. So property covers the information about all the physical locations in the Sainsbury's that Sainsbury's operates in, their fittings, fixtures, and a lot more. Next, on the extreme right side, you can see range at the top and space at the bottom. So under range and space, we track the range of all our products and the exact space allocated to those products in each of our Sainsbury's stores. Then in the middle, own brand. So own brand data with information about Sainsbury's branded products, their ingredients, recipes, and packaging. So this data is extensively used to help make Sainsbury's become carbon neutral and help the climate. And lastly, as a subsegment of the own brand, or if you see on the left-hand side at the bottom, we deliver all agriculture data, which includes beef and dairy, to ensure Sainsbury's deliver quality products to our customers. So how do we deliver data? So our data engineers use specialized tools to work with data, as each system here presents specific challenges. They always consider the way how the data is modeled, stored, secured, and encoded. Also, we use most efficient ways to access and manipulate the data. Here at Sainsbury's, engineers create data pipelines with a variety of technologies. And as my colleagues have already mentioned, I'm going to repeat the same. Some of them are Python, Snowflake, Airflow, CircleCI, Terraform. And if I talk about some stats here, so far my team has processed around 250 GB of data with more than 20,000 unique products which are sold in Sainsbury's stores. And this data, the data that we provide to business, helps them decide which product will be placed at what location in the stores for the benefit of our 27 million customers. So today I'm going to cover one of the Sainsbury's and my team's most important goal, our net zero commitment. So we are committed to achieving net zero in our own operations by 2040. And to do this, we are investing £1 billion over the next 20 years to reduce our environmental impact. And what we will do as part of net zero commitment? Well, we'll reduce plastic packaging across food, non-food, and our operations by more than half by 2025, and then go further. We know that today our colleagues and customers care about plastic packaging, and they think it's our responsibility to take action to reduce it. We currently use around 120,000 tons of plastic each year, and despite our efforts, we have only reduced this by around 1% over the past year. So reducing by 50% over the next 5 years is certainly an ambitious target. We have to do this whilst ensuring that we don't increase the overall packaging that we use or replace for alternatives that have a negative impact on carbon emissions. As you can imagine, we have already achieved a lot of quick wins. So in order to achieve our goal, we need to work closely with our suppliers, with our customers, and to collaborate across the country. Other area which is very important for Sainsbury's is helping our customers to live well for less. That means helping our 27 million weekly customers to eat well. And while we over-index on sales of fruit and vegetables, our Nectar data also tells us that many of our customers do not currently eat a healthy diet. So if you're wondering why we are making a connection between a healthy diet and sustainable diet, it's because the two are very closely linked. Shifting customers' basket towards the Eat Well guide will not only help improve health outcomes, but would also deliver a reduction in greenhouse gases of around 30%. That's why our core health metric going forward will be shifting customers' purchases, not just toward healthy choices, but from healthier towards healthiest choices, recognizing that we have a role to play in supporting customers along this journey. Well, we don't have all the answers today. Indeed, no one does, but we have made great strides in the right direction. And how does my team achieve this technically? So it starts with a very high level architecture as shown here. To begin with, we have data source, Evolve, which is our internal source system, which hold information about Sainsbury's own brand products and is the publisher of the data. The data is published to the Kafka topic. Kafka Broker is installed in Sainsbury's AWS account. Data is consumed from Kafka and stored to a protected S3 raw bucket in the PII landing account, since it contains sensitive information of commercial sensitive data and colleague data. Our internal ETL tool reads the data from S3 buckets, encrypts PII fields, hashes, checks for data quality issues, and stores in Parquet format in the curated layer. From the curated layer, the democratized data will be then loaded in the central Snowflake account, and the PII data and the linkage fields in the plain text format will be loaded directly to the Snowflake into PII schemas at the point of raw file processing. Well, the sensitive data in Snowflake is accessed with least privilege access and uses role-based access control to grant access to only authorized users for specific use cases. But as we know, no audacious goal is without its challenges, and team also faced various challenges. At Sainsbury's, we take data security very seriously. And for ingesting own brand data, we went through several rounds of data classification and approvals from data owners and internal security teams. Another challenge we faced was around complexity of schema, which was huge and nested to 10 levels. A great example of highly nested product is lasagna. So it has bolognese sauce, lasagna sheets, cheese toppings, and cheese sauce. And each of those components break down into further ingredients and keep on breaking down the rawest ingredient. So that's a good example of how the data was nested up to 10 levels. A lot of effort was also required in separating the PII schemas that have restricted access and only specific users, and roles that have permissions to deploy and access the objects within those PII schemas can use that. But we believe every challenge is an opportunity in disguise. I would like to end by reiterating what our former CEO Mike Coop said last year. We recognize that we have once in a lifetime opportunity to make the changes needed to help the planet exist sustainably. We have over 27 million customers each week and almost 180,000 colleagues, and we hope that we can collaborate across industries and sectors to help create momentum and drive meaningful change. Only when the trajectory for global warming slows to a maximum of 1.5 degrees, we will then know that we can truly live well for less now and in the future. And to that, I would like to say here, we have also a lot of openings for bright minds like you. So if you're interested in joining Sainsbury's and help achieve our goal of making this world a better place, there's a lot of openings. You can go and directly apply to Sainsbury's. And thank you so much.
Pooja, thank you. And an excellent way to kind of finish the presentations, and so much content across your kind of 4 business areas, and so many tangible outputs. The questions keep flooding in, and I know a lot of them have been answered via kind of text, and will continue to do so. One that has come up kind of multiple times is around machine learning and kind of its applications within kind of the Sainsbury's tech infrastructure. Steve, Elena, Pooja, Nidhi, anybody want to jump in and kind of give a bit of flavor on that part?
Can do that. So yes, definitely have machine learning. So my background is machine learning. I have PhD in artificial intelligence. And of course, like with so big quantity of data, you can't escape it. So we use machine learning for forecasting. We use machine learning for understanding the behavior of people. So not just the transactional data which you buy, but how do you browse through the products, or what do you leave in your cart, etc. We do a lot of different segmentations and also provide clustering analysis. We also do analysis of basically whatever is alike. Like for example, if you form audiences of people, then you can see how we can make lookalike audiences. Machine learning is used for the forecasting. Again, that's how we forecast the stock needed, depending on what happens, starting from the change of weather, if people start buying something for the barbecue, etc., etc. So we have lots of machine learning going, and it's one of our passions as well. Definitely.
Yeah, fantastic. We can move on to another question, unless anybody's got anything they want to add. No? Excellent. Nidhi, there was a question for you specifically just around the kind of interactions with suppliers and kind of how that works with inventory management. You're on mute there, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I would be happy to answer that question. So we do have supply chain management, altogether different than the customer availability. So customer availability is mostly focused on the calculation after demand and supply, whereas the supply chain is more focused on looking after the purchase order and making that relationship with our suppliers. So some of products are actually delivered by the third-party suppliers directly. So we do own the availability, whereas the supply is happened through these third-party suppliers. For majority of our products, I would say 90% of products are like our own. We do deliver them, and we do the supply as well. So this is like there we use Argo's fleet and our own ways to deliver. So I hope I have answered the question. If not, I'm happy to have this more. But yeah, supply is different than the inventory availability.
Fantastic. And I think, you know, just to reiterate to all of the guests here today, we are going to be reaching out and offering you a chance to kind of speak with the panelists and speak with the wider team members at Sainsbury's in kind of more personal conversations. There was another question just around one of the most exciting languages being used at the moment in Go. And Steve, I know that's an area which you're kind of looking at within your function. So if you could share some kind of detail on that, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, we heavily use it in Smartshop. Loads and loads of microservices using Go. We adopted Go back in 2015. We were one of the first. So yeah, and there's several other teams in the company doing it. Chop's one of them. Parts of the till system are built in it. I'm certain there are other teams. Just looking at GitHub, there's quite a few repos with Go. Yeah, we do use a lot of Go, and we shout about it as well, because I think that person mentioned that they saw a presentation by us. So yeah, we do quite a lot of outreach with that. Yeah,
fantastic. And there's a whole range of questions about coming to work for Sainsbury's, which is really nice to see. You've clearly inspired the audience with what you've covered, and I think one of the things that's come up repeatedly, and maybe it'd be good to just get a quick thought from each of you on what it's been like. Obviously, this past year, we don't need to say that acronym again. We've all heard it enough over the past 18 months to 2 years. But how you found remote working, and I think, you know, particularly in the context of cross-functional, you know, engagement between teams. So I don't know who wants to start us off on kind of remote working, how you found it. Pooja, I see you're smiling. Maybe you could start us off on this one.
Well, there's a personal story attached to it. I myself joined Sainsbury's last year, just 1 week before the lockdown, and I was very lucky to have met my team in office. And just from next week, 18th of March, we went into lockdown. But yeah, it was initially, I will say, it was very demotivating for the team. They were all missing each other because we were used to seeing each other's face and have coffee or catch up and just discuss the issues and do the pair programming sitting next to each other. But yeah, we initially missed for a few months. What we did is we had our social catch-ups every day at like during the lunchtime, like 1 o'clock or 12:30, just to eat lunch together or just chit chat, not related to work. Just if you want to just say something, that how you're feeling today or anything, like casual stuff. So we started with those catch-ups initially, and then slowly we were all settled in with the remote ways of working. And I would like to highlight here, the new recruitment was also happening virtually. So we were interviewing virtually. We were doing if there is any initial formalities of onboarding, like onboarding processes, right to work, document scanning and everything. They were all happening virtually, which was okay initially. And we were gradually getting used to every process being happening virtually. Our laptops, our infrastructure and hardware getting shipped to the colleagues and on time, and we were all good by, I think, September time. So there were no issues late after September. I think the team got settled in, and I think that was okay.
Fantastic. And then like this question's come up multiple times, so it'd be good to get extra perspectives on it. Who else would like to jump in and kind of give their view on kind of remote working?
Oh, and I can.
Yeah, all three went at the same time. So in fact, we'll go round all three. Nidhi, Steve, Elena. I think I saw the order of the microphones coming unmuted. So Nidhi, over to yourself.
Okay, so yeah, I'm another example of somebody who has joined during the pandemic. So I went for my induction day, and the same day Boris Johnson announced that offices has to be closed, and I've been asked to work from home the very next day. And initially it was kind of, that's something I couldn't actually express how I felt, and I felt like there will be a lot of challenges. I haven't met anybody in my team. I haven't seen them. And it's like, it's a complex area. Our domain is quite complex. There is a lot of learning you need to do. But I think it went quite smoothly because of so many reasons. I think Sainsbury as an organization has always been on their toes to understand how employees are feeling. Having so many forums, like we have a lot of support. And when I say a lot of support, in the beginning itself, we have been asked to order the office equipments for ourselves, and we have been asked to have a dedicated place in the home, or if we want to work from stores, we have been given many options. Mental health become a very important thing to address. There are a couple of support groups for mental health. Then again, the physical well-being, so many other things. But most importantly, when I come to my team and my colleagues with whom I work day to day, they have been very supportive, and they have been always available for giving me that kind of knowledge which is required. Being new to the team has been really good, even though initially nobody was used to come on camera, or there was few things which we have to set up as team norms slowly. But then another challenge came up, that I have to recruit people for my team remotely, and I'm not going to meet them. That process went really smooth because every team is dedicated to make that remote process smooth. And I could say that our support teams, our infra teams, they made the processes quickly, shared it across the other engineering managers and other people, and this process became really smooth. So my journey, I would say, like, I got too comfortable to work remotely. And now and then we have surveys where we have been asked like how we are feeling and do we want to come back to office or we want to come work from home. And I feel like the outcome of that survey was majority of the people wants to work, they feel comfortable working remotely, and they just want to come to office for like once a week or twice in like a month sort of thing.
And that's a very comfortable working environment. I think one of the really good things that we can take out of the last 2 years is that reset in the way that we work. And I think the employers, kind of leading the line and giving that flexibility will be the ones who'll be successful, and make people happier. We're all smiling today, and we're all working from home. So, Steve, I think you were the next microphone that came unmuted, so I'll go to you and then to Elena.
Yeah, so I mean, so I said we had 2 feature teams in Smartshop. My peer who runs the other one, I've never met him. He started in COVID very soon after we all locked down. I work very, very closely with him. So onboarding slightly different. You just have to be on hand. A lot of my day is on Microsoft Teams talking to people or on Slack. So yeah, I mean, I've had new starters in the team. Yeah, it's just a new norm, isn't it? But as I said, motivation and morale have been really, really high since that. It was a bit tricky at the start, especially for us, I guess, engineering managers. I guess I can speak for all of us. It was a bit tricky. Had a lot of stakeholders put in status meetings that just clogged up my diary. I was like, why do we need these? We can talk on Teams or Slack or whatever else to do this. It calmed down. I think for us, maybe it was a bit draining at the start. Just making sure our team were okay, but we shouldn't have worried because they've all been pretty good. The culture at Sainsbury's is awesome. Between all the teams, I think we have a very, very similar culture. So it's very welcoming, very open, and we just want to do the best by people.
Fantastic. And Elena, last but not least on this.
Yeah, not to repeat anyone. It's just like I'm in office today, and I was going to show you a couple of people from my team, but unfortunately they already went to lunch gracefully without me. But yeah, I think we learned some things. So we definitely do some hacks. We're trying to, like, in one of my teams, we're trying to do 2 days a week without meetings, because I think we all experienced that the lockdown started, and then the amount of meetings in your calendar is just like gazillions. So yeah, we're trying to be like very mindful. My team, for example, they do have different habits, but we decided that we will come to the office like once or twice a month. So we can have whiteboarding and we have the sessions, and we basically don't plan anything for this day, but just the planning and the making technical decisions. All the rest of the days, they're very happily working from home or come as they want. But I think that, like, especially moving forward, this hybrid solution that we spend few days in the office, most days at home, so we still don't have commuting, etc., etc. I think really, really works. So mix and match. But yeah, we definitely learned how to work productively from home, and it was experience.
Yeah, and you can see that from kind of the results, as well as part of some of those case studies from within the presentations. You've almost made me want to come and work at Sainsbury's. Unfortunately, I don't have the skills to work in any of your departments, and I think that feeling is certainly felt by the audience here. Lots and lots of questions coming about that. And just to reiterate, we will answer those questions in text as much as we can, but we'll also be reaching out to you after the event and providing the opportunity to speak with any of the panelists here today, or if you operate in other disciplines and other areas and you're interested in an informal chat with engineering managers from other sections of Sainsbury's, you'll absolutely be able to do so, and we'll kind of make that happen. I think testament again to
we have a graduate program where you can come and we can teach you.
Oh, fantastic. And that was one of the questions, actually. Yeah, somebody asking exactly that. So we will definitely be coming back to all of you on that. I can see more questions coming in, around that exact point. So, well worth it. And thank you all for being part of it. Again, testament to the content that was kind of, delivered today by all of our panelists. We're 10 minutes over, and we've got about 80% of the audience remaining who are probably missing their next meeting to listen to me talking, which is not worthwhile. But thanks again to all of our panelists. We will close the event off now and endeavour to come back to each and every one of you on those questions. But thanks again to our panelists. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.